especially from America in the UK, are traveling looking for white girls, Indonesian girls, Thai girls, any other ethnicity of woman who is not.
Since 2015, I've been living outside of the United States. Come September, that will be 11 years abroad. I originally left California for reasons that had nothing to do with what I'm about to get into, but sometimes content finds you when you're not even looking for it. I was in the middle of working on a completely different video, scrolling through X to grab some screenshots, when something stopped me mid-scroll. I came across a post from a content creator named Shah Sherdai. She's well known here on YouTube and stays very active on X, and what she had shared genuinely caught my attention.
My co-living space, right? I'm in Bali, mind you. My co-living space, I am the only black person, okay? The only black motherfucker in here, right? So I'm walking in and I see we clearly have a new arrival and it's a black man. And I'm getting out of my car, or the car, thinking like, oh, okay, cool, like there's a black person. Like, I was about to smile and say hi and just be like, what's up? Just be friendly because we're the only two black motherfuckers in here. I get out of the car, smile, he looks at me and
you have a young black American woman staying at a guest house, the kind of place travelers use when they're moving light, just arriving somewhere new or still getting their footing in a new country. Finding accommodation, figuring out the food, settling in. While she's there, she crosses paths with another black American man. She can tell immediately from his accent that he's from the same community back home. And if you've ever spent time living abroad, you understand exactly what that moment feels like. When you're somewhere like Uganda, Kenya, Brazil, Colombia, or the Dominican Republic, somewhere far from home, and you hear a familiar voice, a familiar accent, something in you naturally wants to connect. It doesn't always work that way back in the States, where passing a stranger on the street rarely leads to conversation. But overseas, when you're one of very few people who share that background, that common ground feels significant. You speak, you acknowledge each other. It's almost instinctive. So when this brother walked past her and said absolutely nothing, no greeting, no acknowledgement, she was bothered by it. Understandably so.
Is an issue that I have been experiencing abroad no matter where I go. The black men look at you like, why the fuck are you here, bitch, the fuck? And will not talk to you. They won't say hi. They won't crack a smile. None of that. And it's the weird.
And she made clear this wasn't a one-time thing. According to her, this happens consistently, regardless of which country she's in. That detail is what made me stop and really pay attention. Because there's a specific dynamic that plays out when black men who are living or traveling abroad encounter black women in those same spaces, particularly when those men have developed an interest in local women from whatever country they're in. A number of black women have described getting a particular kind of look from black men overseas. Not a welcoming one. More like, what are you doing here? The unspoken message beneath that look, as some have interpreted it, is something like, I came all this way to start fresh, and now you've shown up in the same place. But her argument wasn't even about dating or relationships. She took it somewhere more basic than that. She said, at the very minimum, there should be a greeting. A nod, some small acknowledgement that you recognize a shared humanity and a shared background. Because regardless of any romantic interest or lack thereof, there's something genuinely in common. The same community, the same cultural roots, the same collective struggles that shaped both of you before you ever boarded a plane to anywhere. That's a fair point. A hard one to argue against, honestly. And even within Black America, regional differences exist. I'm from the West Coast, and a good portion of the Black Americans I encounter in Africa come from the East Coast. Philadelphia, New York, Baltimore. Culturally, those cities carry their own distinct flavor that's a little different from where I'm from. But that gap isn't so wide that it erases the common ground. When I see my people, generally speaking, I'm glad to see them. Until I'm not. And if you know, you know. There's a certain point where familiarity with your own community...
Thailand. Are y'all okay? And I'm not even speaking like on a romantic level, but just on a normal cordial level. Y'all are here. I seen a black man today just walking And just like I give everybody else, I gave him a nod and like a little smile. When I tell you this man looked at me like he's seen a ghost, and I couldn't do nothing but bust out laughing because what is
I remember when this particular video first circulated online. It spread fast and pulled in serious numbers, and for what it's worth, the woman in it is genuinely attractive, at least in my view. She's in Thailand, which is actually one of those destinations where you do see a fair number of solo women travelers, especially around places like Bali and Thailand. So she spots a Black American man and simply tries to say hello. That's it. And you can understand the impulse, especially as a woman traveling alone. When you see someone from your own community in a foreign country, there's a natural sense of familiarity and potential trust, not necessarily romantic, but practical. You might swap recommendations for a good restaurant, a reliable plumber, a safe neighborhood. Basic human connection between people sharing an experience far from home. She reaches out, he says nothing. Now, let's go back to Japan for a moment, because another woman there put it plainly. Watching Black American men treat Japanese women with patience, gentleness, and full attention while completely overlooking the Black women standing right in front of them was something she found genuinely difficult to process. And this gets into something I want to be transparent about, because I've seen it firsthand. I live in Uganda and spend a good amount of time moving between Kenya and other parts of the continent. Black American women make up a significant portion of the expat and traveler community in those spaces, somewhere between 40 and 50% in certain areas. In Nairobi especially, after a wave of Black American men started arriving, partly inspired by creators like Austin Holloway who spent extended time there, I witnessed something I hadn't seen before in Africa. A visible community of single Black American men ranging from their 30s to 50s, all in the same city at the same time. And in all of that, I can tell you honestly, I almost never saw a Black American man pursue a Black American woman romantically in those spaces. The most these women typically received was friendship, a platonic connection, if that. Now, some of those women might say they weren't there looking for that either. Fair enough. But the pattern is undeniable regardless of who's interested in whom. When Black men make the decision to relocate, whether to the Dominican Republic, Thailand, Ghana, Uganda, or Kenya, for many of them, that chapter is closed. And what ends up happening is that the Black American women in those same spaces, if they do want companionship, often find themselves in relationships with younger local men, frequently becoming the financial provider in those dynamics. So what's actually driving this? I want to be clear about something first. I don't think Black American women are inherently difficult, and I don't think women from Thailand, the Dominican Republic, or the Philippines are inherently better. That kind of blanket comparison isn't what this is about. What I will say is this. A lot of the Black men who behave this way have simply reached a point of exhaustion. They're done. Not because they find these women unattractive. Honestly, in my own assessment, most of the Black American women I've encountered abroad were at minimum dateable. But attraction isn't the issue. The issue is leverage. When a Black man is in Thailand, in the DR, in Uganda, or Kenya, he has options he never had back home. And with those options comes the ability to be selective, even petty if he chooses to be. For many of these men, the treatment they experienced from Black American women in the States left a mark. Whether or not that treatment was actually coming from the specific woman standing in front of them now is almost irrelevant. She represents something they made a conscious decision to walk away from. The associations are already formed, the possibility of conflict, the potential for friction, the cultural weight of what that dynamic felt like. And when you're no longer obligated to engage with any of that, some men choose not to, even if it means being cold to someone who did nothing wrong. I know brothers who spend 9 or 10 months of the year grinding in the United States just so they can spend 2 or 3 months in Colombia, Ghana, or the DR. That's the whole plan. And in their minds, going back to what they left behind, romantically or socially, simply isn't something they're willing to do when they've built a life that feels better to them. Shah Shardai actually captured this well on a post on X. She wrote that many Black American women don't fully recognize how decades of tension between Black men and Black women have quietly eroded what was once a natural sense of camaraderie. While that bond still exists in some communities, a growing number of men are actively seeking distance from anything that reminds them of those experiences back home. And that's the honest truth of it. It's not even about the individual woman standing there. It's about what she represents as a symbol of something these men chose to leave behind. It's similar to how the culture of community has shifted over generations. There was a time when people instinctively looked out for each other in public, broke up fights, checked on strangers. That reflex has faded, and the same kind of erosion has happened between black men and black women. By the time a man has made his peace with leaving and built something new elsewhere, the emotional door is closed. What makes this genuinely unfortunate is what I've actually observed with black American women once they're abroad. Outside of the environment they grew up in, surrounded by different cultural norms and feminine energy, many of them shift noticeably. They soften, they become more open, more relaxed, more themselves in a way that the pressures of home don't always allow. In places like Uganda, you'll see families out together on a Sunday, couples, men being present, and that energy is attractive. Black American women respond to it. So you have a situation where the stars should theoretically align. A black American man with resources and stability living abroad, a black American woman who has also stepped outside her comfort zone and genuinely growing, both of them far from home, both changed by the experience. And yet, nothing happens. The connection that could exist simply doesn't get a chance. I genuinely feel for the women in this situation. They're reaching out, making themselves available for even basic human acknowledgement.